Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's a story I've been wanting to get to for a while because the use of Romans 13, 1 through 7 by social justice Catholics, including those in charge of these what have become anti-Catholic Catholic schools. And I don't mean that in the anti-racism to racism construct, the Ibram Kendi construct with respect. I mean, they are spiteful of Catholicism. They are not just not Catholic schools. They are openly hostile to Catholicism. And I don't know if that matters to Catholic school parents, but it may matter to some. So we'll just describe how that's so.
And call in if you want, 312-642-5600.
The use of Romans 13, 1 through 7 is about as bad as the use of Matthew 7, 1. Matthew 7, 1, judge not, lest ye be judged, which people say means don't judge anybody or anything. No, it means don't be a hypocrite. Don't hold somebody to a standard you don't hold yourself to. That's what Matthew 7:1 means, but that's just lost among the social justice Catholics who, bask in moral relativism. So Romans 13, 1 to 7 is about submission to authority. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Father Richard Petticord brought it up. He is, for those of you who don't know, the president of Fenwick High School in River Forest.
Okay, wasn't he the guy chasing around people in the hallway?
That's the principal.
Saying, put your mask on. Put your mask on.
That's the principal.
Okay.
But, they're cut from the same cloth, if you will. So Matthew 1, in the context is, parent emails Father Petticord about the mask and vax mandate at Fenwick. And in response, they get Romans 13, 1 through 7 from Petticord, which reads, let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there's no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and you will be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also as a matter of conscience. This is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. That's Romans 13, 1, 7. And this is taken by theological hacks, politicians masquerading as theologians like Father Richard Petticord, to mean submit unquestioningly to government. And that's not what this verse means at all. Let me give you an example of one interpretation of it. I think this will be particularly poignant to all those social justice Catholicism haters at Fenwick, starting with the president of your high school. See what kind of institutional memory we have. June 14th of 2018, then Attorney General Jeff Sessions on immigration law and family separation policy. Persons who violate the law of our nation are subject to prosecution. I would cite you to the Apostle Paul and his clear and wise command in Romans 13 to obey the laws of government because God has ordained them for the purpose of the order. That was Sessions invoking Romans 13, the same passage that Father Petticord invoked to defend immigration law. Sessions was wrong. It's an overread of, at best, it's an overread of 1:7. But this from Father James Kennan, a theologian at Boston College, who revoked Sessions' use of that verse in the context of defending, not just only defending immigration law, but suggesting that people should comply. He writes, Romans 13 presupposes an ideal system of government. However, Paul's advice cannot be made into a universal philosophical theological principle. Rather, Paul is sensitive to the particular context that the Roman Christians were living in at the time. The Roman emperor having expelled all the Jews, including Christian Jews from Rome, so forth. Paul is not saying that you should submit to tyrannical laws. He's essentially saying, if I could paraphrase Professor / Father Keenan here, yes, these are God's servants, but to the extent that public officials stop becoming God's servants and become tyrants, then your moral duty is to resist the servants and the tyranny, not to submit to it. I mean, that's relatively a simple concept. And by the way, there are other interpretations of Romans 13 that suggest it has very little to do with government at all. But I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. It's just the idea that the president of Fenwick High School, supposed to be one of the great high schools in Illinois, supposed to be a Catholic school, it is neither of those things. Neither of those things. It's an embarrassment, at least at the administrative level. This guy, this Father Petticord, the principal there, Broom, I think is his name, Groom or Broom, doesn't really matter. You know who I'm talking about if you have any stake in Fenwick. Fenwick is just a case study. The mask and vax mandates, you get this dismissive, read Romans 13:1-7, and that will answer your question. No, actually, that is not a defense for what Fenwick is doing, number one. And number two, that is armchair theology. Is that why you're paying $15,000 a year to send your kid to Fenwick? Or is it just the status? It's just Fenwick still looks good on a young man's resume. What is it?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Let me tell you something else about this guy, Petticord, this priest. He wrote a book. It's this is back in the mid-90s. Yeah.
What's it titled?
Let me bring it up for you.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Gay and Lesbian Rights. A question. Sexual Ethics or Social Justice. Richard Petticord. Gay and Lesbian Rights. In the beginning of the book, it's in memoriam, Professor Andre Guindon, mentor and friend. Okay. Professor Andre Guindon, mentor and friend. This from AP story in January of 1992. The Vatican on Thursday said it had ordered the Reverend Andre Guindon, a Canadian theologian and author, to renounce the positions he has taken on sexual morality or face possible punishment. In his book, The Sexual Creators, Guindon gave homosexuality the same moral standing as heterosexuality, said premarital sex could be sanctioned, and criticized the Vatican's ban on artificial birth control. He also essentially said that church weddings were irrelevant, Andre Guindon. Andre Guindon, good friend, or mentor and friend in Father Richard Petticord's book, Gay and Lesbian Rights, in which he was arguing back 20 years before it occurred, essentially for the redefinition of marriage. He was an apostate, Father Richard Petticord, along with his mentor and friend, Andre Guindon. And he's the president of Fenwick High School. And now he's running around giving people, as I said, armchair theology as a way to sort of dismiss any concerns about Father Petticord, like the rest of the power structure of Fenwick, serving as dutiful sentinels of the state, unquestioning sentinels of the state. And by the way, it's the same at other high schools. We've talked about them. Loyola, my alma mater, Bennett. Not to this extent, but they're on that trajectory. They're on a continuum, and that is moving in the left direction. Does any of this matter to Catholic school? I don't understand why you would pay tens of thousands of dollars to send your kids to a Catholic school if you don't want a values-based education, if you don't want them to learn the tenets of the faith. What's the point? If you want to admit, like as I said, that it's just status associated with some of these schools, then fine, admit it. It's sad, it's pathetic, but at least you're honest. Because I don't know what an honest response to this otherwise is. Does anybody know who this Father Petticord is? He's the president of your kid's high school. You aware of his views, his writings, his mentors? You aware of his lack of understanding of Scripture at a basic level? Or is he just lying? What an embarrassment. It's this disgraceful conduct. I don't care if it's a man in cloth or not. Disgraceful conduct that is tolerated, celebrated by so-called Catholic families in Chicagoland. What the hell is wrong with you? Mike in Oswego.
Yeah, hi. This is a bigger problem than just one particular school, as I think you're pointing out. This is a problem at the diocesan level, and I've called before and talked about this, especially with the Senate bill and the House bill that was passed last week, basically limiting conscience and setting up the opportunity for a legalized vax mandate for July of 2022. Nobody's talking about that, and nobody's really doing anything about it. And it's not a school situation; it's a diocese situation. When you contact the diocese and you ask them about the mask mandates, and you get a form letter back that just says, hey, it's an executive order, we have to follow it, that's BS. And we need to have people, thank goodness for your station, but we need to have those folks on the radio interviewed, our politicians interviewed, but the schools and the diocesan level people that are making this decision, somebody's making a decision that sets this up across the board for each diocese.
Yeah,
and
they won't come on,
folks
though.
are hiding, and
they are hiding.
They're not being exposed.
They are hiding. Thanks for the call, Mike. I mean, they are hiding. That's exactly what they're doing.
They're not going to come on here.
They
ask them.
They don't want to be challenged.
No.
We have asked them. We've asked them any number of times. They won't come on. They don't want to be challenged. They don't want to have a conversation. They don't want to defend themselves. They want to give you dismissive references to Scripture that you'll hopefully misinterpret along with them. I mean, this is really bad. I mean, to just put it in blunt terms, you understand these schools are being eaten alive from the inside. You understand the schools are over. Fenwick is over. Do you get that or not? Patrick on the northwest side.
Hi, Dan. I'm a Fenwick guy. 7 of us graduated from Fenwick. I sent 3 there. I never had a problem. My last son just graduated last year. I never really had a problem with Father Petticord. I think he's a good man. Having said that, I think he's in a tough spot right now with trying to keep the school running. He's got to deal with Oak Park. He's got to deal with the Cardinal. I can see his point he's making here, but there is definitely hypocrisy thing going on here. With respect to the vaccine, the church likes to say it's remote. They're tearing down statues of Columbus that are, 200 years old or whatever it is. And, that's not remote to people. These babies that were aborted in the 80s and the 70s. I don't find that remote. I find them martyrs. So I understand what you're saying, but I just want to say personally, I don't have a problem with Father Petticord.
Okay, well,
I get your point.
Yeah, thanks for covering. I mean, I'm glad your interactions were fine with him and so on and so forth. But this has to be acknowledged and explained. People are aware of this? I doubt it. Aware of how this guy operates, what this guy's views are? And you think those views aren't making their way into the classroom in Fenwick? I'm sure they are. I know they are. As well as other Catholic schools or formerly Catholic schools that now just hold up the word Catholic as for adornment purposes so that it confers the same status. No, I don't think so. I don't think, I mean, this whole, it's almost like politicians. Oh, he's a nice guy. Yeah, he's a nice guy who does some very unnice things. He may be a good guy, but he has some very ungood, if you will, beliefs. And he's made some very ungood decisions as the president of Fenwick. And apparently you have an ungood board along with Bennett Academy who doesn't want to stand up and defend the mission of the school. The mission of the school laid out there in black and white. It's just not the mission anymore. I get it. But then let's just admit it publicly and be done with it. Why keep up appearances? If you're so proud of what the schools have become, then just admit what they are. Keith and Kankakee.
Hey, good morning. Dan, thanks for bringing up this topic. The Lord instructs to obey government, as you said. I've struggled with this a lot. I love politics, but it's more of a hobby for me. A life of faith with Christ is more important. I guess I would put it this way. If you've said it many times, we could be them, but they can't be us. If we don't follow their rules, they don't follow our rules. We just have anarchy.
Well, right. I mean, yes, and that's actually what Romans 13, 1-7 is about in pertinent part, is about the importance of order. But again, that does not mean that unjust impositions of the state are to be accepted uniformly. That's the distinction that's lost on, I guess, Father Petticord. Thanks for the call, Keith. Madeline in Arlington Heights.
Yes, good morning. I wanted to just go back a couple of years ago when Podesta's emails were read, that he stated in them that there's a spring cleaning going on in the Catholic Church, which this is reflective upon. I think this is, like you said, a long time that they've been working on getting liberals and anti-Catholics in charge of schools.
Absolutely. Thanks for the call, Madeline. Absolutely. Been asleep at the switch while they've insinuated themselves into positions of authority, and now the schools are over. Over. Can't say it enough, because I don't think people believe it. Okay. I know, there's a lot of things people didn't believe when people like me were saying, okay, you think just civil unions, and then they'll stop there, right? Okay, sure, right. And then we had Obergefell, and now look where we are. Oh, and you think once you eliminate these lines, you get to redraw them somewhere, saying, like, we'll never have, people running around, girls playing sports with boys, and using the boys
Same
using the girls'
washroom.
bathrooms, and so on and so forth. Right. It'll never happen. Oh,
Has that
okay.
happened to you yet?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
When you're in the bathroom and somebody in the other gender comes in?
No.
Yeah, it's a growing problem here, Dan.
Yeah, well,
And you
I
forget,
mean,
like, I went to the bathroom, and then, again, another man is sitting in the stall next to me, like, this is disgusting. It's so uncomfortable, and it's so unnecessary.
yeah, well, this is the age of unreason. This is the age of sentimentality, including within so many Catholic circles. Frank in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. You get the sense that with these faith leaders today that, they would not have done anything like go into the catacombs or been martyrs or anything like any of the old Christian leaders and saints that we had from years ago. I mean, you got to wonder.
These
What
guys,
did they learn?
these guys would have been cheering on Bonhoeffer's execution, as far as I can tell. I mean, maybe that's a little too harsh, but I'm sorry, I'm feeling in a bit of a harsh mood.
I don't know. I'm glad I went to the Catholic school I went to in the 80s, where the priests and the brothers and the faith leaders I had, I always felt that they would live up to St. Paul's maxim that, I fought the good battle. I kept the faith. These guys don't know. Some of them don't know what faith is.
Thanks for the call, Frank.
Someday, don't you believe someday in this society that mothers could marry their sons? Why not? They love each other. They live together. A lot of, that's what's coming next.
Well, I mean, it's anything goes. Thruples
Yep,
and
thruples.
and marrying ghosts, and I mean, it's
Marrying innate objects like buildings.
it's anything goes, because it's all my truth, my morality, and the Catholic Church is turning over the church to that mindset. There's just no other way to describe what's happening. It's not in as grotesquely silly terms as some of these examples that we talked about or that occur around the country, but it's just down that path. Once you concede those premises, then you're going to come to their conclusions. You're going to arrive there, whether you want to or not, kicking and screaming or not. You will be delivered there. And that's what the church has chosen to do in so many examples and through so many of their schools. It's a complete catastrophe, and it's such a tragic loss of values-based education, the kind of education that Frank in Arlington Heights, who's one of the smartest guys who calls into this show, that he got, that he reveres, and it's the same thing that I got, which I revere. Well, that's not going to be available except for the very few in the very near future. And you should lament the passing of that sort of quality education.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I need to take a breath. That's
Okay.
what's coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
No, Ted Dabrowski from Wire
of course,
Points.
our weekly installment, yes.
But now let's head into the newsroom for our half hour